So, in a recent town hall with Fox News, Bernie Sanders was asked to outline the difference between socialism and democratic socialism. And I think he gives a really good answer. So, let's take a look at the clip and then we'll come back and talk about it.
Let's go to Margaret, who is in the audience. Margaret? Hi, Margaret.
Hi, Senator. As someone from Russia, a country that was greatly impacted by the negative effects of socialism, what assurances can you offer myself and other people impacted by socialism that democratic socialism will not have the same results?
Good. Thank you for the question, Martha. Martha? Margaret. Okay. What happened and existed in the Soviet Union was not socialism. It was authoritarian communism. And communism, whether in Cuba, whether in the Soviet Union, whether in other countries, was marked by totalitarianism, was marked by throwing millions of people into the gulag. Stalinism was about as bad as it got. But right near, you're from Russia. I don't know if you've ever visited Finland. Finland is a neighbor to Russia. They have a very democratic society with strong democratic socialist principles. Everybody in Finland has health care as a right. Their educational system is perhaps the best in the world, and college there is free. They take environmental responsibility very, very seriously. They have one of the lowest rates of childhood poverty in the industrialized world. And you know what? Their voting rate, people who participate in their elections, is a lot higher than it is in the United States. So when we talk about democratic socialism, Margaret, I'm talking about Finland, I'm talking about Denmark, I'm talking about Sweden, I'm talking about countries all over the world who have used their government to try to improve life for working families, not just the people on top.
All right. And so, the first thing I want to say about that clip is that I get it. I know that Finland, Denmark, Norway, they are not technically democratic socialist countries. They are social democracies. I get it that technically there is a difference between those two things, but I would make the argument that colloquially, we use the term democratic socialism in the United States to describe social democracy. Like, I get it that democratic socialism has a very different meaning than what a social democracy is. But when, like, the most prominent democratic socialist, who is Bernie Sanders, when every time he is asked to define democratic socialism, when he defines social democracies, when, like, those are the examples he gives, those are the definitions he gives, everything he's advocating for is for social democratic programs, I feel like democratic socialism just becomes social democracy. Like, I feel like the two have kind of become interchangeable with the way that they are utilized in American politics. So I get it. Technically, they are not socialist countries. They don't call themselves socialist country. I know there's a thing. Some guy from Denmark was like telling Bernie Sanders, like, oh, we're not socialist. Stop saying we're socialist. I get it. They are technically social democratic. They call themselves social democrats. But I do think that in the U.S., it's interchangeable. Like, we know what he's talking about when he's referring to democratic socialism. But then to get into the specifics a little bit, I think that he really hits the ball out of the park with that one, because it's true. He is a starch opponent to starch. This is starch there. That's not the word. He is a staunch opponent to fascism and to authoritarian rule. And that is the kind of the kind of regime that the questioner was asking about that took place in Russia. That is not what he is advocating for. He advocates for more democracy. He is not an authoritarian ruler by any stretch of the imagination, and I love it. He even pointed out the geographical. He's like, Finland, right next to Russia. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I want. And Finland isn't talked about as much because they do really well. So the rest of Scandinavia gets talked about more, but Finland do. They have some excellent education programs over in Finland. They are phenomenal. Finland is one of the best countries on the planet when it comes to some of their social democratic programs. And so I love that he gave Finland some love. But that was such a good answer, and I really feel like it's just one of those issues, though. They're going to keep hitting him on it. They're going to keep saying, like, oh, he's basically Karl Marx. He's a communist. Stalin. We got Stalin over here. He's not. He just isn't. It's just not. If you look at what he's proposing, he is not proposing like any communist programs. He is not proposing any social. Like he is proposing to socialize certain things, but he is not a socialist by any reasonable definition of socialism. So I really think that he gave a good answer there. But if you disagree and you think he gave a bad answer, make sure to leave a comment below. But if you enjoyed my video, make sure to like and subscribe, and have a great day.